Ohio State flips former TCU commit Brock Boyd, snatching another elite receiver for Brian Hartline's Arsenal.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Hump Day edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. During today's show, we'll dive into our post-spring football stock watch, as well as a potential portal target for Larry Johnson. But first, Ohio State's recruiting has been hot, absolutely hot over the past 4 weeks, and it's not cooling off anytime soon as Ohio State just flipped four-star receiver Brock Boyd from TCU. He is down there playing at a powerhouse school down there in Texas. He is a guy that's about 6'3", at about 185 pounds. He has a size to be an elite outside receiver. He has the speed to be one as well. And when you think about him joining Chris Henry Jr. and Jaden Ricketts in the Buckeyes 2026 cycle as being the three receivers in that group, Brian Hartline already has a three-headed monster that's really, really good. Adding a fourth would make it even better. And Brock Boyd's the kind of receiver you want at Ohio State. You want to be able to get a guy like Chris Henry Jr., one of the top guys in his cycle every year. If you can get the number one receiver or number two receiver or just a top five receiver, you're doing something right. But then when you can add a guy and pair Chris Henry Jr. with Brock Boyd, that's going to take some of the pressure off Chris Henry Jr. when he's on the field, because you got to give Brock Boyd some attention as well. If all the attention is on Chris Henry Jr. and the other guys that are in that cycle aren't able to get the job done, then you're not doing your job right. You're doing your team a disservice because you're putting too much pressure on one guy. Jeremiah Smith this year, let's take that for example. Jeremiah Smith's going to get a lot of attention, but he's going to get some of the attention pulled away from him because of Cardinal Tate, because of Brendan Ennis, because of Max Clare, Mylan Grimm, Bryson Rogers, and other weapons Ohio State has. The same goes for this recruiting cycle. In every recruiting cycle, you want to make sure you have a top-end receiver. But you also want to put 3 or 4 other guys around him to make sure that it's not just one guy and a bunch of others that are just filling in the holes because there were last-minute decisions. No, you want to make sure you have guys that pair well with him, someone that could be your outside receiver that's the number 2, and knows they're the number 2. But for Boyd, he's probably going to be at Ohio State being a number 2. He has the caliber of being a number 1 receiver. And in high school, his numbers speak for themselves. His junior year, Brock Boyd had 111 receptions, over 1,800 receiving yards, and 19 receiving touchdowns. And when I was watching him play, he knows how to use his frame. About 6'3", 185 pounds. He knows how to use it on the football field. He has a speed to run past you. He ran a 21.7 200-meter dash his freshman year of high school. He also has a 42.6 triple jump, so he has some athleticism with him as well. That shows up on the film. He did have a hurdle over a guy. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I know you're athletic. I see the numbers from when you were a part of the track team. But seeing it on the football field, at the spur of the moment, being able to make that athletic move to hurdle over a defender, oh, I like that. Let me see some more. And then for the other things about him, when I was watching him play, one thing that popped out to me was his ability to run double moves or to alter things mid-route to make sure he had the upper hand on the receiver. He quickly got over top on the route over the defender. Make sure he had the upper hand on the defender, But he always had the ability and quickly had the ability to get over top on the route. So it wasn't playing catch-up or trying to overcome an obstacle that a defender throwing at him. No, he was always 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of the guy guarding him. For Ohio State's 26 cycle, he is the 10th verbal commitment in this cycle so far. Some other receivers, Chris Henry Jr., number 2 receiver, number 10th player in the 26 cycle via 247 Sports composite rankings. And then the other receiver, there's 3 total verbal commitments. Jaden Ricketts, an Ohio kid from Watkins Memorial High School. This class has a great foundation. We talked about it toward the beginning of spring football about Ohio State needing to take this time to make sure they have a solid foundation for this cycle, and they do. Some top-end talent, 2 5-stars via the composite, via 24/7 Sports, and Blaine Bradford and Chris Henry Jr. Quite a few 4-stars. You got a couple 3-stars in CJ Santa and Tucker Smith. I don't really care about the stars next to your name. What do my eyeballs tell me when I watch you play? And I know Brock Boyd's a 4-star via the composite. He is not a top 50 receiver via 24/7 Sports. I think that's wrong. I don't even really care about the national ranking because who really cares about any of that? I care about what my eyeballs tell me. And there's going to be a way for Brian Hartline to use this young man. And then just take this for example. What normally happens when a guy comes to Ohio State and gets inside the strength and conditioning program? Mick Mariotti creates a custom workout regimen for the athlete and a custom nutrition plan for the athlete. What normally happens? They gain healthy weight, they get stronger, and the gains are noticeable. If you look at Jeremiah Smith from last year to Jeremiah Smith now, what do you see? A change in his physique. He is stronger, and it's noticeable. Arvell Reese, what do you notice about him? And CJ Hicks and Sonny Styles. Even if you go from last year to this year, not even when they first came on the campus, let's just say they're guys that have been there for a year or 2 or 3 that are going through the program once again. But what do you see about them right now? They are noticeably stronger and bigger and faster, and they check all the boxes about what you want from a player's physique when they're on the football field. While Brock Boyd is 6'3", about 185 pounds. He can come to Ohio State, and once he gets on the field consistently, be about 210 to 215, keeping that same speed, doing all the great things and having all the same traits that he currently has. Great footwork in his route, can run all the routes. Actually, some of the inward breaking routes were some of the most fun to watch because you see him plant his foot, go, and it was a quick go. Not the same go when I'm thinking about a burst like a Marlon Graham. It ain't that kind of burst. That boy is freakishly athletic. But you can tell Boyd knows how to separate from the guys that are defending him. Not only did Ohio State flip Boyd from TCU, he also had offers from Arizona, Baylor, Boston College, California, Houston, Illinois, Washington, Wisconsin, Texas Tech. The Texas Tech one is interesting because Boyd's brother, Brady Boyd, is currently a receiver at Texas Tech. So you're not only leaving the state of Texas, you're leaving the same state where your brother is playing college football right now and not verbally committing to Texas Tech where your brother is. That is huge. It also speaks volumes about Brian Hartline's ability to recruit, Brian Hartline's ability to lure guys away from places that, for a lot of schools, is tough to pull them away from. But Brock Boyd, Chris Henry Jr., Jaden Ricketts, that's a great trio. But something tells me Brian Hartline's probably going to add a 4th receiver to Ohio State's 2026 recruiting class. Who will it be? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see who that could be down the road. One thing we're going to see down the road is Ohio State add 2 to maybe 3 guys in the portal after spring football, and one of them might be a defensive lineman that Larry Johnson might be targeting as we speak. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Once again, don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Thank you all for tapping and Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. The transfer portal opens up today. The spring window is from April 16th until April 25th, and you know how it's going to be. You see it in college basketball. You saw it in the winter for the football. The transfer portal might get a little hectic, might get a little wild. You're going to get big-time names like Nico Iamaleava entering the portal. But the way he entered the portal, it's going to make it very, very hard for some guys that are big-time brands in the sport to want to lure him to play football there because of the way he left Tennessee. There's a guy out there that Larry Johnson might be targeting that is not in the Nico Iamaleava camp right now or doesn't have the character thing said about him that some people are saying about Nico. In TJ Bush Jr., he is a guy that plans on entering the portal, played a couple years there at Liberty, a really good football player, had some good numbers a year ago. When you think about the Buckeyes' defensive line specifically, what is one thing they need to add? Depth all over the place. At edge, at D tackle, either three-point stance, defensive end, or an edge at a two-point stance, whatever the case may be, they need to add depth. TJ Bush Jr. can do just that. A year ago at Liberty, had 58 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 4 pass breakups. This young man can play. At about 6'3", 260 pounds, he's going to come in, and let's just say Ohio State is currently targeting him because last I heard, he planned to enter the portal tomorrow. Of course, you couldn't enter the portal before the portal is open. My gut tells me that if Larry Johnson does what I think he should do, and some signs are saying that this is a guy on the Buckeyes' radar, this would be a great get. Think about the Buckeyes' defensive ends specifically. Currently, you got Caden Curry, Keontae Jackson Jr., you got CJ Hicks, you got Logan George. Those 4 guys are going to play. Absolutely. Well, you got Zion Grady. You got Joshua Mickens, who missed spring ball. Dominic Kirks. There are some guys in there after Logan George and CJ Hicks that are very inexperienced. One of them just got on campus, so you have no idea what Zion Grady is going to do. Logan George is playing up at a different level than he was at Idaho last year. CJ Hicks is playing on the edge for the first time, consistently playing on the edge for the first time in his Buckeye career. There are just a few question marks after the top 2 guys. Logan George is not really a question mark. Can he play? We know he can play at a certain level. How is that transition going to be for him? Going from the FCS to the FBS being one, and then going from the FCS to playing for the defending national champions. For CJ Hicks, I think he can be good. Can be a solid guy off the edge, but you don't really know what you're going to get when the game time comes. If you bring in TJ Bush Jr., what are you going to find? He already can play at the FBS level. He's playing at one of the better G5 schools to begin with. So you know his level of competitiveness and his moxie about him, all those things are great. He's also going to be someone that when it comes to Ohio State being a team that is probably going to go after and get somebody, you're not going to have to get him up to speed on the physicality or just the speed, legit speed in general. No, he's going to be able to quickly pick that up. But remember something I said, I think it was on yesterday's show. The Everydayers will remember and also remind you about something I said when it came on the show. If you are playing defensive line, really anything on defense, so specifically defensive line, it's easier for you to transfer in and to jump into that room specifically than a lot of other rooms. You're not going to get a guy, you may get a guy, but it's going to be very, very hard for an offensive lineman to be picked up in the spring, to learn the offense in a crash course style before fall camp, and to get on the field and execute the things you learned over the summer months. That's very, 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 very difficult. And then you figure out, well, he's a starting caliber guy, but will he be able to do that now? You got to wait and see. The wait and see game is not a fun game to play, but that's the offensive line. If you get a quarterback in the spring, Oh, man, it's even a bigger can of worms. It's probably not going to play a lot. Running back, you can play, but you got to be able to block. What are the easiest ways? What's the best, really the only way you're going to get on the field consistently as a receiver? You got to block. As a tight end at Ohio State, you got to block. There are certain things to certain positions that if you are going into the portal in the spring and transfer to a place like an Ohio State, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get on the field. Where for TJ Bush Jr., I think him playing defensive end, yeah, there's going to be some nuances in Matt Patricia's defense you're going to have to learn and how Larry Johnson coaches. But outside of that, defense is a read and react type of thing. It's easier to be picked up in the spring to be a rotation piece for the Buckeyes defensive line than a lot of other positions on the football team. And I think that's another reason why Ohio State will probably get a couple guys on the D line. You need a D tackle because it's very similar. I don't have a name for you as far as someone the Buckeyes might go after. But after you go to Caden McDonald at edge of Houston, everybody else is a question mark. Will Smith Jr. was banged up a little bit. He looks to be healthy now. Okay, well, he will be in the fall. Let's see what happens. Jason Moore, I think he's primed for a big year, but he's still a question mark. You're not sure. Tyrone Malone hasn't been able to consistently play well enough in practice to consistently get on the field for a game. Will that be this year? I sure hope so. Final year of playing college football. Let's go out with a bang. We're going to wait and see. I think with the D tackle position, just like defensive end, go out there and get a guy, boost up the depth in that room because D tackle depth is worse than defensive end depth. I am very comfortable saying Ohio State's 4 rotation defensive ends and Curry, Jackson Jr., Hicks, and George. I think they're fine. You can even move Alvo Reese out there to the edge. If you put Peyton Pierce up in the weak backer spot, that would be perfectly fine. Even a Mike backer spot, it don't really matter. They're kind of, I won't say they're interchangeable, but a lot of the responsibilities in a 4-2 are a little bit different. A lot for the Mike and the Will than if you're running a 4-3 or a 3-3-5, things of that nature. So I think Ohio State needs to pursue a couple of defensive linemen in the portal. One of them being TJ Bush Jr. Who is the other one? I don't know. And I wouldn't be shocked if before the end of the week, we're back on here in a reaction pod style show reacting to one portal pickup or this portal pickup or that one. Why? Because the Buckeyes are not going to try and wait like they did in the winter. No, they're going to be aggressive. It's the Ohio State University. The defending national champions are trying to go after someone. Yes, you may want to know about the NIL dollars and the package that Ohio State might be able to put together for you. That's cool. There's a lot of people out there looking for the dollars and cents. But who wants to be developed and who wants to raise their draft stock or have a chance to go to the National Football League once their collegiate career is over? Isn't that what you play for? Well, not everybody plays for that, but the great ones do. You play to be developed. You want to go to a place that challenges you, a place that will push you to be the best you in the classroom to get your degree, but also a place that has the right culture and that is a place that can help you win. That is the Ohio State University under Ryan Day's leadership. Ryan Day's done a lot of things right. He's not the perfect coach. There is no perfect coach. As great of a coach as Nick Saban is, homie wasn't perfect. And I don't even just talk about his win-loss record. There were things that tripped up Nick Saban's teams while Saban was at Alabama and while Saban was at LSU. Why? Because there's not a perfect coach. Bear Bryant, I wasn't around when they was coaching the football, but my guess is Paul Bear Bryant will be a guy. If you go back, if you were one to watch him play consistently, he tripped up on Woody Hayes, Earl Bruce, Urban, Jim Tressel. All these coaches, none of them are perfect. They all have things that trip them up. That's the truth. But they don't allow those things to become obstacles so great that they can't overcome them and keep the main thing, and keep the standard high. Ryan Day has done that. He's kept the standard high. He's figured out how to overcome obstacles. And I think he's going to figure out the right pitch for a TJ Bush Jr. to lure him to Ohio State to be a great piece for the Buckeyes defense next year. Speaking of great pieces, we got to see a lot of those pieces in the spring game, and we're going to talk about some of them in our post-spring football stock watch coming up next. Thank y'all for tapping the Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State spring football is over. It's sad. I loved watching the football. I told some of the everydayers that I may start watching the UFL, and if the CFL, whatever that comes back on, I don't know the season that comes on, I might watch that too because, man, I just love football. There's something special about football. With the football being over, that gives a little bit of time now for us to discuss our post-spring football stock watch. It's been a little bit of a time since you looked at the stock, check on the stock of a few people in the Buckeyes football program, but the time is right to do just that. Stock up on Julian Sayin, a guy that was been propped up, put on a pedestal by some people to be the Buckeyes QB1 in the fall. I'm a person that believes he's going to win the job, but I'm not trying to pump him up so much and hype him up so much that his head may get big. I'm just trying to do my job, provide the proper analysis. But Julian Sayin came in the spring knowing he's in the QB battle, knowing he is right there in the middle as far as tenure for the 3 scholarship quarterbacks at Ohio State, knows his frame, knows the skill set, knows the limitations, and what does he do? Puts his head down and grinds every day. He works every day. Has some good practices, has some not so good practices, but what does he do? He ends spring practice with a bang. He was clearly the best quarterback in the spring game. He had the best command of the offense. He was the most consistent passer. He was the most accurate passer. He went out there for his first snap. It was different. The confidence in the command of the offense that he had, it was different than it was when Lincoln Kienholz was running the offense to start the spring game. Julian Sayin is different. We've heard the hype. We've watched some of the film of him when he was in high school. We see him in the Scarlet and Gray. He's a different kind of player. And I believe he's the right guy to lead the Buckeyes offense in the fall. So I come on him not just because I believe he's the right guy, but because of the way he went out with spring ball and went out with a bang and made it very, very difficult for people to say he's not the front runner to win the QB battle because he was before the season started, before spring football started, and he still is now the front runner to win the title. Stock up on Ryan Day because a lot of coaches out there wouldn't want to allow their players to hit during the spring game like Ryan Day does. Even Ryan Day at times goes a little bit softer in the spring game for the fear of injuries or not wanting to go too crazy. But it's football. It's spring football. Yeah, you're going to line up on Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith and got the quarterbacks wearing the black jersey, so they're protected too. But it's football. And the best way to condition your body to play football is to play football. It's very similar to a basketball player. The best way for a basketball player to condition their body to play basketball is to play basketball. You can run all the miles you want to, lift all the weights you want to. You can do all the sprints and all the short burst drills and all those types of things. All those are great. But the best way to condition your body to play football, your mind to play football, is to play football, which means to get hit over and over and over and over again. And that y'all don't understand how excited I was when I got to hear them pads pop. When I saw Peyton Pierce push the guy a little bit right after the drill, I loved it. When I saw Quincy Porter and Aaron Scott Jr. get into it because of a little shoving match, one guy pushed another guy down. Next thing you know, two-hand shove after the whistle. I loved it. I am here for that kind of stuff. I love that Ryan Day brought back the physicality to the spring game, and I hope it doesn't stop. I truly hope that at some point, Ryan Day says, we're doing this every year. Quarterbacks wear them black jerseys. If you're one of them ones with the ones, we're going to try and protect you. But everybody else, let's hit. I'm here for that kind of physicality anytime the pads are on. Stock up on the trip to the White House. I don't get political. I'm not trying to get political. But one of the best honors a team can get after winning a national championship or the NBA Finals or the NFL is to be invited to the White House via an invitation sent out by the President of the United States. In Ohio State, went to the White House. J.D. Vance, who was an Ohio State grad, fumbled the national championship trophy. Oh, man, I know he felt so bad there. But just being able to be there at the White House, be honored, present gifts to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, that was enjoyable and fun to watch. The smile was on the guys' faces, and Ryan Day putting pictures in the story, which I don't believe he normally does. So it's fun when he does do it, and it happened to be there at the White House. It's just fun, man. Seeing these guys get celebrated for their hard work, seeing their rings that they got during the spring game for winning to the Natty, that's amazing too. Just happy for the players, man. Getting the invitation to the White House is so rare, and I'm glad the team went to be recognized by the man by the people, that building that runs the country. I'm glad. I am so glad. Stock down. I don't want any negative, but I got to. The spring ball is over. It's not fun, man. It is not fun. You're probably like me trying to get your football fixed. Last Friday, I covered a high school baseball game locally, and it got over pretty quick. It was a game that used the mercy rule. And before I left, I told my wife, "Oh, this school here that I'm going to is going to start their OTAs for the football team on that Friday night. They're on the football field." And so I drove by a little bit. I didn't stop to watch them play, but I'm thinking, man, it's football. It's the spring. Some of the football players are on the baseball team, so I know they won't be there. But I'm just thinking, man, I want to get me a little football fix every now and then. And it won't be the Buckeye football fix for quite a long time. We'll wait till fall camp for them to get the pads back going, to see some clips and watch them play the football and during practice before they end up getting back on the field for week 1 against Texas. Stock down on the end of spring football. Stock down on the D-line depth. I didn't really put much stock in Ohio State going to the portal for defensive tackles right now. I thought that would have happened during the winter portal window when that was open, because I think you would have been able to find a higher quality player. Now, the one thing Ohio State may be doing is trying to get someone on a discount, because a lot of the guys in the winter that were there, the numbers were kind of astonishing to think about the number of players that left their teams to go to the portal. I wonder who's advising you, because one of the abnormal things and unfortunate things for people that go into the portal is that a lot of guys don't find a new landing spot, because there aren't enough landing spots for the guys that are in the portal, because they leave, a freshman comes in, maybe 2 or 3 freshmen come in at their position, so they want to go to a new school. They think they have everything set up, but the next thing you know, there's no spot for them. No more scholarships left at all. And so I didn't really think the spring would be the time, but it looks like the time is now for Ohio State to go into the portal, get a defensive end, get a D tackle, and let that thing ride, because you need the depth. You definitely need the depth and experience at those 2 spots. Also, stock down on guys potentially leaving Ohio State over the next, about week and a half. The portal opens today. It closes on April 25th. That's a lot of time for guys that are currently on the Ohio State's roster to have the post-spring conversations with the coaches, to learn about where they are on the depth chart, their potential for playing time, and how much playing time they might get before making a decision about if they're going to play football at Ohio State in the fall. I don't like seeing guys that I've covered in recruiting and have seen sign on the dotted line for Ohio State to end up transferring out. I don't like seeing that, but that's the nature of the beast. That's college football. That's collegiate athletics in general, and just got to get used to it. So for Ohio State, you may lose a quarterback. You may lose a running back. You may lose a receiver. You may lose someone at multiple positions. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And it's just sad seeing these guys go. Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, make sure you check out the Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez as your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level. Get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's on Locked On Buckeyes right here on A Hump Day. We'll see you next time.